It's so good to be here with my home peeps, you know. So, I want to tell you a little story before I start. It's about a popular motivational speaker who was going to address a crowd, and so he held up a $20 bill. And he said, who'd like this $20 bill? And all 200 hands went up. And then he took the $20 bill and he crumbled it into a ball, and he said, now who wants this $20 bill? And all 200 hands went up one more time. Well, what if I do this? He said, and he threw the bill on the floor and he ground it in the dirt. And he picked it up and he said, now who wants this $20 bill? Because I'm really going to give it away today. And all 200 hands went up. And he said, my friends, I have just showed you a very important lesson. No matter what I did to the money, you still wanted it, and its value did not decrease. It was still worth $20 no matter what I did to it. Many times in our life gets crumpled and we feel like we've been ground in the dirt and we've made poor decisions and we've had to deal with poor circumstances and we feel worthless. But no matter what has happened or whatever will happen, you will never lose your value. You are special, and don't you ever forget it. And so I'd like to ask you all to stand, please, and I want you to face your neighbor, and I want you to repeat after me. I see you.
I see you.
Who you really are.
Who you really are.
Made in the image and likeness of God.
Made in the image and likeness of God.
I cherish you.
I cherish you.
I support you.
I support you.
And I love you.
And I love you.
And so it is. And so today, as Kaleem told you, the title of my talk is God's Bounty. And in that reading that he read you, we are told that through the right use of the law, we become free. But through the wrong use of the law, we become entangled in bondage. And that is the law of cause and effect. So when we are living in the past, we are often living in grief and in guilt. And when we are living in the future, we are often living in the fear of what may happen, what may become. But when we are living in the now, we are living in the abundance of the divine. We are truly living in God's bounty. Many of us use our past experiences to guide us through life. Yet, at some point in our life, it's important for us to realize the past is the past. The past is gone. It no longer serves us. As I said before, living in the past, we often live in guilt and in grief. We relive and keep alive those distasteful things that have happened to us, where we feel we've been ground into the dirt. And so it's important for us to remember that the past is over. We can't change it. But what we can change is our attitude, the way that we view our past. What might we still be holding on to? Perhaps some resentment, some hurts, some relationships that have moved on, some pleasure even, or people, and how things used to be. I remember when. Do you ever recall having said, and I know that I said this to things my parents have said, I will never say that to my children. I will never. Or here's the other one that was always big. When I was your age, yeah? How many times do we open our mouth and our parents come out? You know? Some of us have not attained the capacity to truly let go of the past. And that doesn't mean that all of the past was bad, but the past is the past. So when we come to an understanding that there is a greater source of our supply, greater than what has happened to us previously, there's a greater intelligence, there's a greater good, there is a divine law that is at our disposal when we let go of the past, when we choose to move forward. We can be free to create a better future instead of living how it's always been. We often, we talk about it, that we're going to do this, but we often sabotage ourselves, don't we? Because we go back to what we know, what we think we know. At least I've done that. So something comes up, and I don't simply let it go. I don't let go of yesterday. I don't let go of foregone conclusions necessarily. But if I believe that I can do that, if I believe that there is a source, a power in the world greater than I am, if I believe that, then I can go on. There are no limits to what I can accomplish. None. Other than the limits that I create for myself. Other than the limits. So I have a quote for you from Science of Mind, page 110. If a man takes his images of thought only from his previous experiences, then he continues in the bondage with those previous experiences create. Jesus understood these great laws of cause and effect in the universe, which work sometimes with apparent slowness, but always, always with sureness. Eventually, we shall come to understand that all human bondage is an invention of ignorance. So how do we do that? How do we release what no longer works for us? How do we let it go and move on? Well, here's a possibility. Perhaps we could go within. We could do that centering prayer. We could do that meditation. We could do that visioning. We could go within and we can listen to that still small voice and ask that God within us for direction. So, do I follow the past or do I listen and find a new way of doing and being? What if I allowed Spirit to be my guide? What if I let Spirit be in the driver's seat of this vehicle? What if, when something came up, I would go within and say, okay, Spirit, what is my next step? We can do that, like I said, through prayer and through visioning and through meditation. I don't know about you, but some of us have not had too stellar of a past. I always say I'm not ashamed of my past, but there's a lot of things I wouldn't put on the bulletin board in the back of the church. So what can I do about that? Well, I can look at it. I can acknowledge it. I can learn from it. And then I can let it go. I can let it go. I can allow myself to heal from whatever those feelings of guilt or regret might have been. Perhaps, just perhaps, I had a misunderstanding of what exactly God wanted from me. And so now I'm at choice. I can choose differently. And I can choose to move forward. And I can do that and get myself unstuck from the place that I am. When you ask yourself, what is God? Do you give yourself all the pat answers? God is life, God is love, God is truth. And that's true. God is all those things. But do you know God? Do you have that inner connection with the divine? Do you truly know God? Or are you simply saying what you've been told that you should say? God is principle, and it is true. Do you know Spirit? Whatever it is that you call your higher power, do you acknowledge your oneness with that? Do you acknowledge that it constitutes the I am of your being? God is within you. God is the I am. I am. In classes we teach, be careful of your speech. Do not say, I am sick, because that is not the truth of who you are. The truth of who you are is whole, perfect, and complete. I may have the appearance or the feeling of sickness, but the truth of my being cannot be hurt or harmed in any way, because I am one with the divine. The truth of my being is spirit. It is the life and the soul and the consciousness of each and every one of us. Some people come to understand that, and some people never do. Some people come to understand that the Father and I are one. You remember that? Jesus said that. The Father and I are one. And in the scripture somewhere it says, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. And so if I am one with that divine essence, then what I understand is that that good is mine as well. And that good does not come from somewhere out here. That good comes from somewhere in here. Life, love, peace, joy, that great comforter is already alive and well within us. When each one of us has access to it, if we take the time to go within and access that spiritual wisdom, that light and that love and that peace that truly is what we are. What can we do if we stop resisting and eliminate the belief in duality, that God is out here and I'm over here, that we are somehow separate? I know that sometimes I have struggled to be in control of a situation. I want it to work this way. Have you ever done that? How does it work for you? Because it didn't work too well for me. Often we try to hold on to what we want because we don't understand that perhaps Spirit has something bigger and greater in store for us. So we separate ourselves from life and from having more good by holding on to something that may not be the best for us and not understanding why we can't have it. I think I'm making a lot of noise here. Is that better? That's better. Okay. It's the hair thing. Sometimes if we would just let go, we could have more good in our lives, more good than we've ever experienced. And sometimes we spend so much time looking and planning for the future. Someday I'm going to do this. Someday I'm going to do that. And I forget to live in this present moment because, someday is never here. It's always someday. And so what we need to do is to live right here and right now and to embrace all of the good that God has for us. And sometimes we need a wake-up call. And we get it, don't we? We get that 2x4, the cosmic 2x4, if you will, that chooses for us to move on to a greater expression of life. A greater expression of what we could be. And when we let go, and we say this a lot, right? We let go and we let God, we can tap into that infinite source that wants to experience good, wants us to have what we want, wants us to be happy and fulfilled. Jean Houston, in her teaching Unlocking Your Quantum Powers course, states, "Let us again experience this light in an expanded way, to living in the light, to begin living outside of your former cave of belief. No longer easily fooled by illusions, by shadow plays, you will not only see the true nature of reality, but you will begin to live with the knowledge that the universe is always ready to co-create for you." And we do that, don't we? Sometimes we have a difficult time moving out of that cave of false belief. And over again, if you come to this center or any spiritual living center, you will hear there is a power for good in the universe and you can use it. There is a power for good in the universe, and of course we can use it because we are rooted in it. We are a part, a growth, if you will, an expression of that power. It wants us to create. It wants us to. And we can use it to move through each day, moment by moment. Sometimes I get caught in the shoulds or the should nots of what someone else thinks I should or should not be. You should do this and you should do that. And I forget to listen to that internal connection, my oneness with the divine. And I forget to listen to that still small voice within and make choices based on that rather than on someone else's shoulds. We forget that the right use of the law will set us free. It will set us free and not in bondage. As Kaleem said earlier, it will set us free. And oftentimes, it's been my experience in the past, but from this moment forward, I'm going to change that. It's been my experience in the past of getting caught up in the idea of trying to become what someone else wants me to be. Trying to be something that truly is not my personal view of how life should be. But I try to please other people. I know that none of the rest of you do that. But when we do that, it appears that we have cut off our source because we are not listening to that divine knowledge within us. If we remember to keep our thoughts right, we do not lose fact of the idea that we are connected to a source. We are connected to God's bounty, that internal and infinite bounty that is everywhere present, and it cannot be exhausted. It cannot be depleted. From Science of Mind, page 303, it says, when Jesus said, resist not, he meant that non-recognition of evil is the only way to avoid it. This is true. Recognition of evil is the only way to avoid it. This is true according to the law of cause and effect. For what we persist in recognizing, we persist in holding in place. That which we refuse to recognize, we neutralize, and it is no longer there as far as we are concerned. So, oftentimes, we are told, and I believe that this is true, where we put our mind is what we create. And so I don't know about you, but I want to create things that are positive and helpful and joyful and filled with light and filled with life. So when we set our intention, the universe begins to manifest it for us. And when we keep our intention focused, we will bring it into expression. But sometimes, we get this far, and then some other thought comes in about what we want, and so we move over here, and so we put our attention there, and then we wonder why this one did not come to us. It's because we've now confused the universe. Which one do I really want? So it's where you put your attention that you create. God is within each one of us. It's within me, it's within you, it's within every person here, it's within every person you meet, and we cannot deny that. What we get to do is acknowledge it and to draw on that infinite source of wisdom and knowledge. And we don't have to think it through repeatedly. We don't have to stay in control constantly. We don't have to be the one in charge. We can allow Spirit to move through us. We can do that, or at least we can try to do that, or we can continue to try to be in control and try to do it the hard way. I don't know. Sometimes some of us are a bit stubborn and we think that we have the right answer and we won't listen, not even to that voice within that tells us perhaps there is a higher and a better way to be revealed to us. So what I would suggest is when we hear that we embrace it. That we embrace it, that we live it, that we get to be it, one with that divine and holy wisdom, one with that knowledge, one with that presence. In Science of Mind it says, unless one conceives of himself as possessing good things, He will not possess them. From the objective world of such a one, even that which he has will be taken away. And in Luke 12:32, it says, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all of these things shall be added unto you. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom." And that's really true. Spirit is waiting. It is waiting to create with us. The universe holds nothing against us. It doesn't care how many mistakes we've made. It doesn't matter if we're that wrinkled and dirty $20 bill. It doesn't care. It sees us as an emanation of itself, pure and holy, and we can train ourselves to listen. Listen to that voice of truth within us. Listen to us when it speaks to us in those moments of stillness. How often have you had an intuitive idea and chosen not to listen to it, and then had that little living in the past regret later? God's bounty is available to each and every one of us. God is not a respecter of persons. It doesn't matter how much property you have. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter what kind of car you drive or where you live. It doesn't matter. God doesn't care. What God cares is that you recognize that you are one with it and understand that that divine essence is simply there and available for us to use it. It is up to us, to you and to me, to realize our good. It is up to us to become more. It is up to us to express the God within us. It is up to us to take our journey and move to a journey of happiness, fulfillment, and joy by living in the now. By living in the now, we can have the bounty of the divine. Happiness, substance, and supply live in the divine. There is no limit. It's unlimited. And it is up to us to connect in it, to express it, and to become it. Unhappiness and discord are the results of a misunderstanding. It's a misuse of our nature. We are children of the divine, made in the image and likeness of God. I see you, who you really are, made in the image and likeness of God. I cherish you, I support you, and I love you. If we forget the past, and if we do not live in the future, if we live in the eternal presence of the One, if we live in the now, that bounty is ours. On Science of Mind, page 154 said, our prayer is always answered before it is uttered. Spirit knows. Spirit knows. So it is up to you and it is up to me to live in this present moment, to let go of what no longer serves us, not to live in the world of cause and effect and wonder why has this happened to me? It is up to each one of us to live consciously. You know, we're always a choice, always. And we always choose. And sometimes we choose consciously, and when we don't choose consciously, we choose unconsciously. Yeah, and I've done that once or twice. So it's up to us to build that knowingness of the divine within us. It is up to us to know that whatever is the highest and best for us will come to us if we open our minds and our hearts and our lives to bring it in and allow it to express. It's not necessary to fight the old. It is not necessary to remember the past or live by someone else's standards. It's not. What is necessary is to allow yourself to be an individualized expression of spirit. Live in the house of the divine, as they say. Create good for yourself. When they say you live in your Father's house, remember the Father and I are one, and the Father's house is within you. Happiness and success are yours right here and right now when you open your mind and your heart and allow them to express, when you claim them. We are the eternal presence of love. We are immersed in a universal spirit which is divine in nature. That is to say, we are born in the Spirit. We live in a consciousness of knowing that the kingdom of God is within. So you have homework this week. I always give homework. And your homework is to affirm that you are one with the one with that powerful presence of Spirit. So I'm going to give you an affirmation and then we're going to say it together. It's an Ernest Holmes abbreviated form. Good and more good is mine today, and I claim it now. Okay, good and more good is mine today, and I claim it now. So let us pray. Sweet, sweet Spirit, Father, Mother, God, that one and holy one, that divine essence in which we live and breathe and have our being. That light and that love that is God expressing. We are one with it. One with love, one with peace, one with joy, one with the bounty of the divine. And so as I speak my word this day, I know that each and every one of us is open and receptive to receive all of the good that God has in store for us. It is ours today and we claim it. I know that each and every activity in which we participate is an activity of the one, the activity of God, and love is present there. I know that each and every challenge that I may meet, I go within and I listen to that still small voice and allow love to be the way. And I'm grateful. I am grateful for the strength and the courage and the wisdom that is God. I am grateful that I am one with that courage and that wisdom and that strength. I am grateful for the bounty which is mine today. I give great thanks as I release this word to the perfect working of the perfect law that always, always and only says yes. Please join me in affirming. And so it is.